Hello, I'm Michael Greth, Microsoft Most Valued Professional MVP for Office SharePoint Server, and I'm here at the TechEd Europe 2009 in Berlin. Actually, I'm very proud of it because it's my hometown. And with me is Zlatan Djinic. May you introduce yourself?
My name is Zlatan. I'm a SharePoint MVP from Cape Town, South Africa. And I'm here to talk about taxonomies in SharePoint and in SharePoint 2010. I see it's a very vibey, situation here. We got Xbox and Karen and Young on the guitar over there. So, you know, it's up and happening. Wish you guys were here with us.
Yeah.
So
metadata, your topic are metadata and taxonomies. First of all, explain us, why are metadata so important for structure organizing information within SharePoint or within any information system?
Okay, so basically taxonomy and let's start from there, is a science of classification. It's a way of classifying any kind of data that you have or any record of any transaction that you have in your system, right? So I find it to be the most fundamental part of any deployment of SharePoint in an organization, because you need to create a structure of data in the system so it's intuitive for that organization or for people in organization to find what they're looking for. Okay. Also, it's very important for enterprise search, because search is also another one of the fastest ways of locating the data that you need to find in your system, especially on large deployments. I mean, there's a lot of cases where we have, not just like hundreds of sites, in collections on international deployments of MOS and now soon to be SharePoint 2010, and taxonomies or the structures cannot be reused between different companies. It just doesn't work because they're proprietary to the business. Yeah. They're proprietary to the way the business operates, to the terms that they use, and to the way their culture exists and is created in that organization and maintained as such. So it's about actually getting in touch with that. So as you have, as metadata is sort of structured, you have basically autonomies, that define different structures of metadata, of the types of metadata that you can have in an organization.
I think if you have a metadata structure, I think everybody is very happy to use it and to have all the advantages. But on the other hand, I think, to be honest, nobody has real fun to add metadata to any document. So I think it's a challenge to provide a very easy user interface. What about SharePoint?
This is the thing. I mean, once you realize the power, once you actually start make it part of the culture of within your organization, especially from a SharePoint perspective, of adding metadata and create appropriate policies for adding metadata and the types of metadata. So you have semantic metadata, for example, which applies to the way or the type of metadata that describes proprietary things within business. So it could be departments, it could be CEOs, CFOs, it could be projects, internal projects as well as external projects. Then you have structured metadata, which describes structures within your organization. Yeah. Those can be structures of your department, those can be structures of your teams. Those can be structures within taxonomies of your documents and the way you actually approach projects as well. Then you have syntactic, before I interrupt, which describes the type of metadata, like whether it's a binary, whether it's a Word file, and so on and so forth, and going down basically to the actual data, and those then become all these metadata aspects and concepts. They become facets of a sort. And before, in 2007, we had faceted search that allow us to, first of all, not only have create a taxonomy structure behind that will navigate us to the right, according to the query that we put in, to the right data in a MOS system,
Yeah.
but it will also allow us to extrapolate results through facets. So I could say, I just want English documentation, or I want documentation that belongs to this department, I want this, and you would see basically filter through working on to get the information that you need within it.
So as I understand you right, you can use metadata to find information, but you can use metadata to navigate through information.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you mentioned, in MOS 2007, we have some basic capabilities to use metadata and to provide a metadata infrastructure, but we all know there are limitations. So, what about SharePoint 2010? I think they do a lot of improvements.
I'm so glad you asked that. Yes, there has been an enormous improvement. They've basically, as you know, of the when it comes to shared service architecture that SharePoint 2010 has, one of the shared services there is metadata shared service, and that is basically now forms part of the formal classification that you can implement for organization that has deployed SharePoint 2010. Okay, and within there you basically define your term hubs and the applications that are going to use separate metadata sets. And that can be autonomies basically of different sets that are going to be used, either one single one that you're going to be used across the whole organization, or many separate ones.
So you have you can have one metadata structure for all your sites, all your whole infrastructure, one single location where you store it?
Per application, and within that, so as it goes down, you can have you can have term sets, and the term sets contain under them groups, and groups are used to allocate permissions, because you can do security trimmings on the structures of metadata that are being used across the organization. Okay. And as such, what you have, within term sets you have terms, and each of the terms are basically, you can have, you can specify description for that term, not just the term itself. You can specify synonyms and compound terms that are associated with that, and you can specify translations to different languages as well.
Okay. So what about, so you can provide a well-defined structure of metadata so the users can add and tag it?
Exactly.
But what about flexibility? When a user said, oh, I don't find the real metadata, can he add one?
That's right. So basically it's up to you how you decide to deploy it. So you can have metadata that is being very, or a taxonomy that is being very tightly controlled with the organization. The organization goes and says, listen, everybody must use these terms, okay? No, there's no backing down. There's no, because we want to do proper business intelligence on this. We want to do proper data mining. We want to see trends, and we want to make sure when someone uses a particular term, and this is quite valuable in a project. When you have in your activity feed of your, let's say, your My Site of SharePoint 2010, and this sort of ties into my conversation about social networking for SharePoint 2010. You can identify, for example, projects and individuals with similar skills, as well as a similar project that you're currently working on. You can leverage on the IP used in the same organization, maybe displaced in a different country. You never knew that they worked on the same project, they did the same thing, yet what you're doing the same now. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can leverage on the IP already used in the organization, right? So you can set the flexibility to be like, to be tightly controlled. You can set up a process if someone wants to add a term, for it to be a workflow process that goes, okay, if you want to add a term, then you need to apply and put the term in, and then if it gets approved, it's going to be added to the formal taxonomy structure. Sometimes you have taxonomy teams that maintain that, or it can be loose. You can allow users to basically use this, use any term, okay, or specify any term, and this is in case I was gonna come to that on how to apply metadata. Whether you're using tagging, which is a funky and cool new way of basically identifying or rather classifying data, any type of data, internal or external to SharePoint, right? As well as rating it and putting down notes. On the other hand, you can use as part of your list, you can use manage metadata columns, and they're pretty. The user experience is very nice on that because it allows you, first of all, to go through the hierarchies of the metadata that has been created, okay, to identify the terms that you want to use. It's got predicted text output.
Okay.
It's actually pretty slick.
Okay, but how do you manage this metadata? As a metadata administrator, how get you held of all these things? How can you rearrange them, combine metadata? Are there tools to manage metadata in SharePoint?
Yes, there are. So basically, if you go to your central administration, and if you go to your shared services, application management shared services, you will actually find all the services listed. You will see metadata shared service there, which is going to actually allow you to see not only the metadata, we will be talking about term metadata, but it also controls the content type hubs, as well as the content types that are being created. Yeah. So that is another thing to consider as well. And this is something that is the concept that has been pulled forward from from 2007 and has been improved a lot on now, because now you can share content types across different collections, and basically you can implement with content types together with the metadata as a proper policy within your organization. You ensure that there is standardization as such. Also, if you go to the particular site collection, if you go to the actual settings of it, you can go to the term store, and in the term store you can see where there are defined terms together with like I said before, with the descriptions, the synonyms, compound term processing, so on and so forth.
So, last question. If I want to start with metadata, what is your advice? What are the best steps or the first steps you should do to start with metadata? What are the best practice? Do you have some advice how to do a successful metadata deployment?
Okay, so basically, first of all, you need to do proper business analysis within the organization to establish, first of all, does the organization have used taxonomy, whether that taxonomy is up to date, and then establish whether you need to create a taxonomy and how to create it. Okay, once the proper analysis has been done and taxonomy has been created of what they even refer to sometimes folksonomy, what is sort of their particular part of their culture, kind of taxonomy, and once that is established, then you need to define policies, and these are more like information management policies we talked about earlier. Whether you're going to sort of have open adding of metadata terms, or whether that's going to be restricted, or whether it's going to be a combination of the two. Okay. Consider also you're going to be using these terms for tagging. You're going to be using these terms as part of the managed metadata column for a particular item, SharePoint item in a list. They're coming from the same store. Okay? So those are the things to consider. Security trimming. You might not want to have certain aspects of that metadata structure available for everybody. You want it to be personalized, and you want it to be sometimes even confidential. Okay? HR in particular. HR really, doesn't want to extrapolate to the whole organization exactly what the salary structure is, maybe, and how it actually works behind it. So it depends on the type of metadata that you intend on using and how you want to use it.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you provide a URL where we can read more about this one? Where's the best place to go?
Yes, I will actually be conducting a workshop on taxonomy metadata services at the SharePoint conference in Slovenia in about 2 weeks. As well as you can come to my blog. It's on .net.org.za/Zlatan, my name. You can follow me on Twitter at Zlatan Ginic. I will have it in the description of this session. And also please follow at SP Social, which is a social networking SharePoint tag Microsoft uses. You can get all the really cool and new information about new concepts around taxonomy metadata, as well as social networking concepts.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.